Welcome into the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. I'm not going to freak out over the fact that the Sixers played one of the most horrendous games I've seen them play in quite a while. Turnovers galore last night against the Atlanta Hawks. They looked like the cliche never played basketball before. It was absolutely horrendous. Multiple times throughout that game, throwing my hands up in the air. Horrendous. This is horrendous. This is horrendous. And I thought it was cute. Thought it was adorable. I giggled a little bit. I alluded to it a couple of times throughout the week. The season didn't start until the Phillies season was over, right? That's what Joel Embiid said. So the Sixers were 1-0. They're 1-0 in the new season. Now they're 1-1. And guess who they got again? The Hawks. That's next on the schedule. I don't know why this team gives us so much trouble. Maybe because they're built for speed, and the Sixers seem to be more built for power. I don't know. But with Joel Embiid struggling with turnovers and struggling to stay in the lineup, and Tyrese Maxey just flat out struggling over the last couple of games, it's a little bit of a concern. And it's not just the joke that Joel Embiid told the other night about how the season hasn't started yet because the Phillies are finally done. Now the season's finally started. It's not about that. It's just that I've tried to convince myself of this before. The first half of the regular season in the NBA doesn't matter anyway. That's what at least I'm trying to convince myself and trying to remind myself that it doesn't really matter anyway, because the NBA and its star athletes look at the first half of the season like it's preseason anyway, and I'm really hoping that's all Joel Embiid is doing. Oh, yeah, it's preseason. I'm just going to play myself into shape. Tyrese Maxey, I'm going to get hot. I'm going to get cold. I'm going to get hot. I'm going to get cold. I'm going to shoot 5 for 17 from the floor and give you 15 points. Okay, fine. But it's only the first half of the season, so that's just preseason. Let me know when it's really, let me know when it's like February 15th. That's where I'll really start kicking into high gear. That's when I'll look at these games like they really matter. Because last night, and I got to say, it really goes to both teams because they both struggled last night, especially with turnovers. The Hawks had 18 turnovers to the 76ers 17 turnovers. So the Sixers, despite having 17 turnovers, still were a +1 in the turnover category last night. But regardless, I don't care if James Harden's in the lineup. I just care that you have Joel Embiid and you still have Tyrese Maxey. And the fact that those guys struggled mightily last night, Joel Embiid with his 7 TOs, and then you had Maxey, as I alluded to, 5 for 17 from the floor, 2 for 6 from beyond the arc for just 15 points. He had 5 assists. He wasn't happy with his performance after the game as well. But they were constantly making mistakes last night. And yes, it comes to those turnovers, especially when you look at Joel Embiid close to the top of the key. He's looking for Tyrese Maxey in the corner, ends up throwing a lazy pass that ends up going the other way for 2 points. That happened throughout the game last night. And it wasn't just Joel Embiid, but yes, it was mostly Joel Embiid. D'Anthony Melton had a couple of bad turnovers for you last night, trying to help you out the point guard spot. There was just no fluidity to the 76ers last night. There was no fluidity to their offense. Defensively speaking, they couldn't do anything last night either. It was just a struggle. And from the third quarter to the start of the fourth quarter, they allowed a 12-0 run by the Hawks that just was point after point. No contest at that point in the game. And the only time the Sixers really showed life, especially in that second half, was when you saw Montrezl Harrell come off the bench. And during scrub time, during garbage time, somehow ended up putting points on the board. And right before they went to commercial, Montrezl Harrell, I believe, had his 4th point, 6th point maybe? He's walking off the court, and you just see him do the person I'll alluded to is the Steve Spurrier. I remember the Eagles were lighting up the Washington football team back in the day, and Steve Spurrier just had this like kind of expression on the lips going. You know what I'm talking about? I can't do it. I don't know why. My big fat face, you'd think I'd be able to do it. I can't do it. But he just, his lips are flailing out there, right? And Montrezl Harrell's like, yeah, this is fun. I'm going to pad my stats a little bit, but we're not coming back. Next thing you know, the Sixers are like down 6. Next thing you know, they have an opportunity to be down 5. Next thing you know, they have an opportunity to be down 3. and they're actually cutting it close towards the end of this game. They don't lose it by 9. And Doc Rivers said after the game, he was telling everybody, hey, if you cut this to 10 points, we have a chance to win this game. If you cut it to 5, we have a chance to win this game. And, just wasn't in the cards. Just wasn't in the cards. George Niang was not as hot from beyond the arc as he was the previous game. 1 for 7 from beyond the arc. But just a frustrating game for Sixers fans. And the fun part was the Flyers started at 7. The Sixers started at 7:30. So you can watch a little bit of the Flyers, flip over to the Sixers, right? You go back and forth. It wasn't a hot start for the Flyers either. It's 7 o'clock. Johnny Gaudreau struck first with an assist. It got past Carter Hart. I forget who scored the goal. Who cares? 5-2, they lost. They ended up losing that game. But as I'm going back, especially the start of the second period, I was a little late. I was like, how the hell is it 3-0 already? What did happen here? Another turnover at the blue line, went back and DVR. Well, how'd they score so fast at the second? Oh, that's how. Turnover at the blue line. Those never end well. So the Flyers took the loss last night. Yeah, you always want to win for your coach when he's returning to his own stomping grounds, and I'm sure that's what the Flyers wanted to do, and that didn't do that last night, unfortunately. So the Flyers struggled in their game as well. That's a lot of negative. And before I get to some of the post-game comments, I want to get to 2 positives. First off, I didn't even check. PJ, do you have the Jason Kelce piece? Did you get that by chance? We're going to run that a little bit later in the show. All right, so PJ is going to run that for us a little bit later. But it's a positive note. I mentioned yesterday that I have the Jason Kelce piece that I was working on from Bach Bar, where Jason Kelce released his new Underdog apparel, which will help raise money for educational programs throughout the city of Philadelphia for our city's youth. How great is that? So I was lucky enough to be able to go to that event last weekend. I put together a nice little behind-the-scenes package for you guys so you can see what was going on there. Also, that's a positive. We'll get that later in the show. The other positive is that it just seems too good to be true. We keep on getting these little nuggets, these little morsels of information about Trea Turner coming to Philadelphia. By this rate, Trea Turner will be a Philadelphia Philly by Tuesday. The Phillies will allow the Eagles to have Monday and their Monday victory, win Monday night against the Washington Commanders. That'll be great. And then Tuesday, it's going to come out that Trea Turner is a Philadelphia Philly. That's really, by this rate, with a nice positive nugget being dropped every single day about Trea Turner coming to Philadelphia, the potential of it happening. By this rate, he'll be a Philly by Tuesday. Now, somebody was saying in one of the comments, one of our social media posts, great job by our social media team putting out different clips of the show. But one thing in particular got pretty popular on Instagram, got pretty popular here on YouTube as well. But one thing that was interesting was this. I was saying all these nice things about Trea Turner and how he'd be a great fit in this lineup, and he'd be great to play shortstop, move Bryce to second. You can have him bat 1 or 2 in the lineup, predominantly a number 2 hitter this past season. So that's fine. But he's a top of the order guy. You can move Rhys Hoskins down in the order because, yes, I'll say it again, Rhys Hoskins is staying in Philadelphia. He will be your first baseman going into next year. So somebody in the comments, hey, every team is saying this. Every team, every owner is saying they'd like to have Trea Turner. And I'm sure that's true because he's a really good ball player. So, yeah, I think everyone would be saying that. However, the point isn't whether or not just every team would want him. The point is the fact that the Phillies seem to be the front runner for all intents and purposes of landing Trea Turner. First, and let's follow the bouncing ball again, ladies and gentlemen. First, Exhibit A. Harper mentions that his favorite player to watch is Trea Turner during a broadcast on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Okay, all right. That just starts the fun speculation. JT Realmuto's here. Oh, I can't. Another one of Bryce Harper's favorite players. Now let's continue to follow a bouncing ball. Already, I know we're on concrete evidence. Betting odds. Betting odds make the world go round, don't they, these days? Yes, they do. Betting odds have Trea Turner's most likely spot being the Philadelphia Phillies. What? Let's keep going here. A hype reel is released, voiced over by John Hamm. I just like John Hamm. It doesn't matter that it was him, but I like John Hamm, so I'm name dropping him right now. Here you go. Why would he release a sizzle reel unless he wanted to leave the LA Dodgers? That doesn't mean necessarily he wants to go just to Philly, but it shows you that all is not well in the state of Los Angeles. Not all is well in the state of Dodgerville. So at least you know he wants out of there. And the betting odds have him most likely go to Philadelphia. Oh, it's okay, interesting. Then Jason Stark goes on with my boy Broads. And what does he say? He said, early rumblings of Bryce Harper courting Trea Turner. That Trea Turner winds up in Philadelphia. That brings you up to yesterday, where John Morrissey was on with John Clark on the Takeoff podcast, which is so appropriately named for Johnny Airports. And John Morrissey drops this little nugget, the latest nugget of positivity, that Trea Turner will be a Philadelphia Philly.
They've been friends going back to their time with the Nationals. I think that would be a key aspect of all this, that Bryce Harper could really advocate strongly in both ways, to tell Trea, hey, this is the place that you want to play, and to tell ownership, this is the kind of player that we need. But I think that the Phillies are the team that truly, as we speak today, even more so than the Dodgers, makes the most sense for Trea Turner.
Oh! The Phillies are making more sense? They're making more sense, huh? Than the Dodgers. And it's all because of the amazing persuasive styles of one Bryce Harper. And John Middleton will meet him. And Bryce will be like, hey, this is one of my best buds, and like he wants to come out and play with us. Can you play with us? And John Middleton will be like, how much are you doing? How much money? How much money? Really? Here you go. Take the money. You're Philly now. And it would absolutely work wonders. Absolutely work wonders. Now, the other part of this here is Trea Turner supposedly, and this is, I have no evidence of this, but if you know this, great. Somebody hit me up in the comments on the show and said that Trea Turner's wife is from Jersey. Did I say Trea Turner's a Philly by Tuesday? By the end of the show, Trea Turner might be a Philly. Whenever you listen to this podcast, right by the end of it, right by the end of the podcast, Trea Turner could be a Philadelphia Philly. I am excited. The Phillies just lost the World Series. And I don't know if it's the momentum of pulling you in and keeping you in throughout the postseason. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the Phillies are the gift that keeps on giving. And it's not just the Trea Turner, let's face it, speculation. Or, yes, as I'm referring to it, the positive nuggets being dropped every single day that he could be a Philadelphia Philly. Or it's something as great as the fact that you have two Silver Sluggers on your team now, because yesterday Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto were named Silver Sluggers in the National League for what they were able to do in the left field and what they were able to do behind the plate and at the plate from those positions around the National League. The good things just keep on happening, baby. Phillies just keep on giving us positive information. Ever since they lost the World Series, it's been all positive. Did you want to see maybe Zach Eflin work out here? And he still might, sure. Did you want to see Gene Segura return? I know a lot of people like Mean Gene. A lot of people like Clutch Gene. But if you're telling me you can move Stott over to second base and you could get Trea Turner as your shortstop, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, Gene Segura, love you, bud. Been fun. Been a good time. Good luck to you the rest of your Major League Baseball career. Glad you got to the playoffs. And not just the playoffs, but you also got to the World Series. So it was worth the wait. Very excited for what the future holds. And it's not even, I believe, not too distant future. I don't think this is going to warrant the type of offseason that we had to go through when signing some other big names. Well, a big name like Bryce Harper, for instance, where it was like our fandom was being held hostage by Manny Machado and Bryce Harper. And what was going to come of this? Who was going to land here in Philadelphia? Who were we going to get? Who's going to be the guy to make sure we stayed in our seats? Well, it was a guy that was an MVP a couple of years later, and that was Bryce Harper. And that was months of waiting, months of speculation, months of reading into every single tweet. I remember we were reading tweets from Smash Mouth, the band, Smash Mouth. Somebody once told me the world is going to roll me. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay? We were reading tweets from them when they were alluding to the idea that they were going to that he was going to their favorite baseball team, the San Francisco Giants. I didn't know I knew Smash Mouth lyrics, but apparently I do. Anyway, it's from Shrek mostly. My daughter's recently into Shrek, so I've been watching a lot of Shrek, and I've been hearing a lot of Smash Mouth during Shrek. Anyway, that's what we were reading into. I don't think I'll have to get to that point with Trea Turner because I think he'll be a Philly in the not too distant future. And it's not just that every team wants him, because I'm sure they do, because he's also versatile. Play basically anywhere. If we can play shortstop, center field, second base, play all over the field. But I'm just imagining Trea Turner coming up in this batting order, either in front of or behind Kyle Schwarber, and the good things that can happen. Oh, and then that Bryce Harper fellow hitting behind him. I just can't wait. I can't wait. Phillies got me excited. Got me excited again. Everyone should be excited. Now, I just need somebody to confirm for me that his wife, all I got was her name. His wife, Kristen Harabedian. I believe I said that right. Armenian? I believe that's Armenian. They both attended North Carolina State. She was gymnast, high school gymnast. Faces in the crowd. Oh, she's featured faces in the crowd. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. No, this won't. This will just tell me what it is. Yeah, it won't tell me then. I clicked on it. Nope. Oh, they reside in Palm Beach. Okay. Palm Beach Gardens. I'm now reading about Trea Turner's wife. And yep. Nothing else. Got nothing else. But if anyone else knows if his lovely wife, she was born in Florida. Trea Turner's wife was born in Florida. Wah, wah. To hell with it. Let's start the rumor. She's from Philadelphia, or she's from Jersey. She's from South Jersey, which is kind of like Philadelphia. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, Trea Turner's a Philly as far as I'm concerned. Let's get into this. It's enough positivity. It's a lot of positivity for me. After the game yesterday, Doc Rivers was talking about the loss, and he kind of talked about what was the Achilles heel of the 76ers last night against the Hawks. Now, one thing I did not point out was the fact that the Sixers shot 20% from beyond the arc. That was a bit of a struggle. Now, here's the thing. This wasn't like going through the game last night that the Hawks played any type of perfect game. The Sixers had to play a terrible game to lose this game. They shot 20% from beyond the arc. The Hawks only shot 23% from beyond the arc. They shot 87% from the free throw line. Sixers shot 83% from the free throw line. So it wasn't like it was the scales were tipped drastically in the favor of the Atlanta Hawks. The Sixers just couldn't do anything right. They literally had to play a horrendous game to lose this game, and that's what they did. Here's Doc Rivers on what went wrong.
Layups, wide open threes, and that's going to happen. That is. But then the turnovers on top of that, and I thought with each miss, the frustration, you can literally see it, led to no passing, and then it really leaked in on the defensive end. So Joel got those fouls, really tough call for me. He had 4 fouls, and you leave him in. If he gets his 5th, now you're 1 foul away. That one hurt us as well.
I don't want to hear excuses. Like, in all honesty, if you follow the NBA, you know how it works in the first half of the season. A lot of the superstars, they don't play great until later. I mean, Luka's playing out of his mind right now, and I know the way too early favorite for MVP, but I know some of these guys, they take it easy in the beginning there, especially guys like Joel Embiid that kind of have to play themselves into shape more often than we would like them to. But it ain't easy, especially when you are missing one of your stars in James Harden. But I don't want to hear that it's early in the season. I don't want to hear that the first couple of games didn't count because the Phillies were still playing, that you're playing yourself into shape anymore. I don't want to hear it. I just don't. This Sixers team, and I think a lot of people are on the same page with me here, this Sixers team, I think most people are looking at like, enough with this stuff. Hey, make the playoffs, win the first round. You better win the second round this year, and you better at least make yourself to an Eastern Conference final. And even if it's there, I think people are still just short-tempered when it comes to this Sixers team, because I don't feel the blind love and support that they have been getting over the last couple of years. And I know it's still early in the season. I get it. But you wanted to see this team start rolling teams. And they have done far from that. You're looking at the Sixers right now at 5-7 to start their season. 5-7 to start their season. You've barely seen Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid right now is averaging over four turnovers per game. Leading, that's a leading NBA stat right now. That's abysmal. Now you can say like Dame Lillard averages like 4 turnovers a game. So how bad is that really? Well, it's bad. It's pretty bad. That shouldn't be the case. Injuries, in shape or not, when you're an MVP caliber player, that shouldn't be the case. And that's what it is right now for Joel Embiid, unfortunately. And Tyrese Maxey, I don't know what's wrong with his game, but he had that great stretch of about 4 or 5 games where he's averaging 30 points, and now the guy can barely throw the ball in the ocean. Talk about getting back to just what makes you a special player. I went off on a rant, what was it, Tuesday, just talking about how much I love his game and how versatile he is and how he can be the modern NBA player by draining threes for you, but then he can also be the guy from the 90s at guard from the 90s that was just going hard to the rim, getting the N1s, getting guys into foul trouble, playing that style that I still love and think is the better style, but he's got that versatility to his game where we could do either. And then he just goes cold. Ice cold in the game. Here's Maxey last night after the game. What he had to say about what's going wrong in his game.
Love it, but yeah, I mean, I just try to help us win. I mean, I got to figure out ways to. I feel like I'm doing a good job of getting other guys involved, getting guys shots, and I think I can do a better job of that when I get to the paint. Teams are so focused on my driving aspect to where I can find a lot of shooters and find a lot of dump offs to a lot of guys. So I got to keep doing that as well.
Whatever gets you back on track. Sometimes, and this is one thing I appreciate about him. And I was talking about this the other day. The idea of a good shooter just always believes the next shot's going in, no matter how cold they are, the next shot is going in. And that's great. Maxey has a little bit of that. But the fact that he knows he's off, the fact that he knows he's not seeing the rim right, he doesn't have that feel for his jumper or his three as of late, the fact that he knows that and he's now going to be defaulting to his teammates to try to make plays for him, and he's going to try to kick it out to a guy like George Niang to knock down that three, who couldn't knock down that three last night. He's going to try to kick it out to a guy like Tobias Harris to try to knock down that three. Not happening with great consistency, unfortunately. Try to kick it out to even Joel Embiid, who, while he tries to play himself into shape, is just hanging out of the three-point line anyway for him to knock down a three. And maybe you get some points out of it. I appreciate the fact that he understands that he just doesn't have it on any given night, and he's going to try to make his other teammates involved and get them to score. Last night, nobody could score, unfortunately. And it's one of those games that, if you just look at the box score, you think, oh, well, Joel Embiid had an okay game. Ooh, 7 turnovers. Okay, that's not good. But he's what did he ended up with? 26 points last night. That's great. What's amazing to me is that despite those turnovers, he was still plus 10 in the game last night. Not that I buy everything into plus minus or what have you, but it's still an interesting thing to look at from last night's game. You just go, oh, it's still pretty damn good with Joel on the floor. You don't say. Trae Young, by the way, for those curious, also finished with 26. 7 assists and 6 turnovers. So there you go. Let me tell you about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. One place, one price, the perfect price each and every day online at IHateStevenSinger.com. And what are you getting at Steven Singer? You're getting the perfect price every day at Steven Singer Jewelers. So when you go to another jeweler, you might show up and they might say, the sale was yesterday. Or, all right, you might get the feeling you have to negotiate. Whatever. At Steven Singer Jewelers, you don't have to worry about that because you're getting the perfect price every single day. You know who says I hate Steven Singer? Mostly other jewelers say I hate Steven Singer because Steven has the best price the perfect price every day. When you walk in, you're going to get treated like a family member by a real jewelry expert who will walk you through all the beautiful, dazzling diamond inventory that they have available. So do what I do. When it comes to all your jewelry purchases, trust one man with the perfect price. That's Steven Singer Jewelers. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. One place, one price, the perfect price each and every day at IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, look, it's really hard to find an athlete that you might love more than Jason Kelce. I think it's actually impossible. One of the things that really sticks in my brain about Jason Kelce is the picture of him not as a mummer, not at the parade, not at the podium, really even before the Eagles won the Super Bowl, where you got an idea of who Jason Kelce was. And I believe it was in 2012. Young man with the Eagles named Jason Kelce goes out for one of his first playground painting adventures. The Sixers, or the Eagles rather, through autism awareness, would go out through a charity, and they would go out and they would paint a playground. They would help build a playground or restore a playground, whatever it was. It was a great charity thing. And one of the great shots, and I don't know who got the picture. I know I saw it in Inquirer, but Jason Kelce was sitting there with his big bushy beard, and he was letting these little kids paint his beard pink. And I thought that was like just adorable. I thought it was sweet. And Jason's got this big smile on his face. He's loving every second of it. And I was like, oh, that's a man for every man. Then he started crushing beers. He started having a great time with everybody. And it's like, I love this guy even more. And there was something about Jason Kelce that I just really appreciated about him. I thought he was a genuine dude. And that's from the moment he got to Philadelphia. And I remember he would come on, if I was doing like a 10 to 2 a.m. shift on like WIP, I'd contact his agent or his booking person, this person named Sean, and she would say, yeah, hold on. Oh, yeah, Jason will come on. And he would come on with me at like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and he'd do a guest hit with me. And I always appreciated that because normally those spots don't get decent guests, like good guests, like a Jason Kelce, who was still your starting center at the time. And one thing that I thought was really funny, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but if you guys remember the replacement officials in the NFL, the year they had the replacement officials, the Fail Mary in Seattle between the Packers and the Seahawks that year. Well, somebody made a replacement Google. So instead of Googling, going for information, you Google for information, and something, the complete opposite or just something random would show up. You would type in something like television, and like a 1940s radio would come up, something just whatever, not television. So while Jason Kelce was on the air, I said, hey, Jason, I'm going to replacement. I told him the story, whatever. I said, I'm going to do the replacement Google with your name. And he's like, yeah, go for it. So I typed in on replacement Google, Jason Kelce, hit search, and a DVD copy of Cool Runnings came up. I see pride. I see power. Right. And I said, Jason, you're not going to believe what came up. He's like, what? I said, a DVD copy of Cool Runnings. And Jason Kelce, for the first time, I believe, ever, cursed on the microphone and dropped an F-bomb for all of Philadelphia to hear. Little did we know, like 10 years later, he would be at the podium. No, 5-6 years later, he'd be at the podium dropping F-bombs galore. I think it was his first on-air F-bomb with me because of a DVD copy of Cool Runnings. And I remember I saw him in the locker room after that. He was like so apologetic for dropping that. I was like, all good, man. All good. Then he was like the commissioner of Wing Bowl. Like the guy, all I got to say is the guy is a man of the people. And the evidence is mounting and mounting and mounting, and he only adds to it. He's a Hall of Fame player. And then there's the cliche, he's the Hall of Fame guy as well. So Jason Kelce put together his own charity. I originally thought, when I saw the news that Jason Kelce was working with the charity, I thought he was just doing that, working with the charity. He started his own charity. And he's come up with a way to help fund that charity in order to help youth in the Philadelphia area. So, PJ, if you have it, without further ado, this is Jason Kelce on his Be Philly charity and his Underdog clothing line to help fund that charity. Take a look. Secret. Philadelphia! Jason Kelce loves the city he plays for. And now the Eagles' All-Pro center is giving back to Philadelphia even more, especially to the city's youth. Kelce has started his own foundation and a clothing line to help support it. The Be Philly Foundation is an organization that funds educational programs for Philadelphia's youth. The name of Kelsey's clothing line? None other than Underdog. Kelsey kicked off his line of Underdog apparel with a fashion show at the Bach Bar in South Philadelphia, where plenty of his teammates were on hand.
Obviously, Underdog plays on the city of Philadelphia's iconic 2017 Super Bowl run, which I was fortunate enough to be a part of. But I think larger than that, it embodies the city of Philadelphia. I think Underdog is a mentality. I think it's a mentality that, we're not going to listen to outside noise. We're not going to let anybody tell us who we are, how good we are, or how good we can be. We're going to go out there and prove it every single day. But we want to help the city achieve. We want to help our young people achieve. So it's incredibly, some of the things we first tried to do is try and find programs and people who are doing great work in this city already, because I'm not an expert. I may be an expert at center and playing football, but I am not an expert in the nuanced difficulties that face our young people in this city. So Be Philly is going to be really, the main goal of that is to try and focus on finding people who are doing incredible work and funding their initiatives and supporting them.
100% of the proceeds from the Underdog apparel line go to the Be Philly Foundation. For more information and how you can get your hands on Underdog apparel, visit bephilly.org or underdogphl.com. A lot of those guys that were there just seemed like they were having a blast and just really enjoying being a part of something like that. So the credit to the Eagles, not just Jason Kelsey, but the Eagles teammates for coming out, supporting their captain and supporting their guy, obviously with his new endeavor. And you could tell something like this was coming because he had been really helpful with Make the World Better Foundation. That's Connor Barwin's charity. And by the way, I saw Connor Barwin at this event looking very svelte, looking just flat out slim. He's like, man, I need to pack on some pounds, man. I'm just getting too skinny. And I was like, carbs. Carbs help me not get skinny. So maybe try that. But no, just great for Jason Kelsey put that together. Great for his teammates for being out there to support him. So yeah, once again, bephilly.org if you guys want to check it out for more information, or also underdogphl.com. And just the website's just fun. You see all the Eagles players out there smiling, just having themselves a good time, getting involved in the community. It's great stuff. Let me tell you right now about the great people at Manscaped, manscaped.com. How about their Platinum Package 4.0? Because fellas, you want to look good everywhere, right? That's where Manscaped enters the conversation. Go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at manscaped.com. You'll enjoy their Platinum Package 4.0. It includes the lawnmower, ear and nose hair, the lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the weed whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And it all comes with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. Plus, you get the ultra premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, crop preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, crop reviver ball spray toner, anti-chafing boxers, and the shed travel bag to hold all the goods you'll be using to take care of your goods with Manscaped. Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Now you can trust them with the whole shebang. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with promo code Farzy. How about the amazing people at Mojo and the Mojo app? It's available in New Jersey on iOS. Here's how it works. The app currently offers the NFL with over 300 skilled players across quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Each athlete has a stock on Mojo, and it has a share price attached to them that rises and falls in real time based on on-field performance, news, and anything else that might affect expectations. Prices move all year long, so there's no off-season. Mojo's published guaranteed payout formula is based on objective stats, so you always know exactly what the stock is worth. I think an underrated rookie is out there. Maybe a veteran isn't doing so great. Maybe you think Aaron Rodgers is really going to turn it around. Not going to happen. Hopefully against the Cowboys this weekend, though. But you can check that out on Mojo. You can go for the long game or the short game. And try a Mojo. Mojo is available in New Jersey on iOS. Just by downloading the app, you have a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock. Click the link in the description below And for a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock, must be 21 or older and physically located in New Jersey to trade on Mojo. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. How about a Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com. They grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State, ladies and gentlemen, with all organic inputs and IPM. There's absolutely nothing synthetic from farm to jar. And after harvest, they carefully preserve all the plant compounds with a perfect 3-month cure. Just one look or smell, it's enough to let you know it's CBD done right. You'll love their strain menu at Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Like their insane tropical tasting Bayox that clocks into their chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So, try yourself some Freestone Farm CBD. It's great for anyone taking a more natural approach to everything they put in their body. Check out Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing today. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Mally, good morning. Excuse me. Jeff, what's going on? I'm a huge Hoops fan and get hyped each year watching the Sixers. This year, for some reason, the Sixers team is very boring to watch. This team lacks personality compared to prior years. I'm worried. Wah, wah. Jeff, I share some of your emotions. The reason I'm not freaking out right now, the reason I'm not losing my mind right now is A, because it's early, B, because Joel Embiid has to play himself into shape, and C, everyone goes through struggles at some point, and I'm hoping the Sixers get their struggles out of the way right now. I wish mathematically I had a better reason for you. I wish statistically I had a better reason for you. I don't. But I'm doing the same thing that you're doing, which is trying to justify. What I'm trying to do with the Sixers is justify my optimism for the year. And you don't want to have to justify, oh, how do I justify that I was so positive and high and mighty on this team before the season started? I don't want to be looking for that justification. I want it to be right there in front of me. With the Sixers being great and starting out great and showing that everyone's healthy, everybody's in shape, and Tyrese Maxey is great. He's going to get another huge leap forward in his career. Like all that stuff. And we got a glimpse of it. Tyrese Maxey, I was looking at this yesterday. Plays, I mean, I was reflecting on it, not so much looking at it, but I was reflecting on it while watching the game. And what I was reflecting on is how much better Tyrese Maxey is with James Harden. You think that wouldn't be the case because, you want a little bit more room if you're a guard to not share the floor with somebody like another guard like James Harden. But he actually plays worse with Joel Embiid. I get the same feeling watching Tyrese Maxey this year, despite the fact that I think he's improved tremendously over the last 2 years. I get the same feeling watching Tyrese Maxey right now playing with Joel Embiid as I did last year when Joel Embiid came back from his COVID stint. Now, if you remember, Tyrese Maxey went on a tear while Joel Embiid was out of the lineup. This is obviously before the James Harden trade. But Tyrese Maxey was the leading scorer on this team. He was controlling the ball. He was doing great with assists. He was just overall playing a great brand of basketball. Then Joel Embiid came back into the mix, came back from COVID, and Tyrese Maxey played this like real timid style of play where he almost felt like he had to be submissive. And some of this is accurate, submissive to Joel Embiid because he's the MVP, he's the star. And that makes sense to a degree. But my point during that process, oh God, it's that process. My point during that time was that Tyrese Maxey needs to realize that he's a pretty damn good player too. And he should take it to the rim. He should try to draw fouls. He should stay beyond the arc, try to knock down some threes for you because he's good enough to do it with consistency. The minute he started to realize that is the minute the Sixers really started to take off. And then that's also when, around the same time, James Harden was added to this bunch. So I feel like I'm watching replays of last year without James Harden in the lineup, especially because I'm seeing that same brand of basketball from Tyrese Maxey. And that's not a winning brand of basketball. Nobody who's timid is winning basketball games. And if Maxey's a little timid, it wasn't all that timid last night. It was still 17 shots. But in terms of the ebbs and flows, not the ebbs and flows, but in terms of the flow, again, I'll go back to that word again, fluidity of the offense. You don't see it nearly as much without James Harden here. You don't see that brand of basketball from Tyrese Maxey without James Harden on the floor. So what I'm saying is he got traded Embiid. No, I'm kidding. I know that's what the Embiid haters want to hear, but I'm not even close to there. I'm not even crossing my mind other than to make fun of the people that think it's time to trade Embiid. But Jeff, I'm watching the same thing you're watching right now with the Sixers, and it's painful. Flat out, no doubt about it. Painful to watch, unfortunately, at the point that we're in. And there's one thing I wanted to check with the Sixers, and I'll do that live because it's so riveting. If the season ended today, the Sixers aren't even in the playoffs. That's what I wanted to check. There's 3 teams in the Eastern Conference with 5-7 records, and Sixers are one of them. And they're the only one. Or excuse me, they're one of the 2, them and Miami, that are not in the playoffs right now. So if the season ended today, 12 games into the season, the Sixers are out of it. Sixers are still making the playoffs. I'm not worried about that. I'm not that worried. Allora, what else we got here? Mally, what's going on? Mally's acknowledging to Jeff that they did look lost last night, and they absolutely did. Moving Tobias Harris, that's always going to be on the docket. Nobody is bowing out of Tobias Harris. Like, no one's looking at Tobias and be like, oh, well, he'll stick around for years to come. Maybe because of the contract, but I don't think Daryl Morey is set on the idea of Tobias Harris sticking around. Especially last night. 5 for 15, 12 points. Did have 5 steals for our Sixers last night. So there you go. That was one of the guys forcing turnovers. And his defense, I think, has overall been improved this year. Not just with 5 steals, but really, I feel like he turned a big corner and really helped himself find his identity on this team, especially after the Harden trade, where he stepped it up big time in the defensively in the Toronto Raptors series last year, and then did the same thing in the Heat series as well. So I think Harris's role isn't 3 and D per se, because I think he has enough of a mid-range game and cuts to the rim enough to do it as well. But he is a 3D and drive guy. Does that make sense? It's a new thing I just made up. But that's the style of play I've been seeing from Tobias Harris this year, ever since those 2 playoff series last year. I think that's helping him find his identity on this style or this make of the 76ers roster. Ooh, Jeff, this is interesting. Embiid's start takes him 100% out of the MVP race for sure. No chance at all. I wish he won the MVP last year instead of Jokic. I don't disagree with that, but as far as him winning last year. But I don't think, and I did think about this. This did cross my brain. Like, is this slow start costing him at the end of the season for MVP votes? And it could. It definitely crossed my mind. But I think there's kind of a recency bias that kicks in the last couple of months of the season, the last 2 months of the season, where you see one guy maybe take over, especially if the Sixers are this team for the entire season where they can't play consistently until Joel Embiid gets it going and then rallies them to a higher seed, like a 2 or 3 seed, or excuse me, a 2 or 1 seed of the Eastern Conference. He's able to do that, then hell yeah, we're talking about an MVP. But yes, it definitely makes it an uphill battle for him. No question about that. And I don't fault you, Jeff. You and I are very much on the same wavelength when it comes to watching the Sixers team in the early goings of this season. But it's still the early goings of this season. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Despite Maddie's early... Is that supposed to be Maxey? Okay, good. Not worried about him? That's good. RJ, what's up? Sixers just isn't fun to watch. Win or lose, they don't do anything cool. It's like watching 60s basketball. I'm going to go ahead and say it's a little bit better than 60s basketball. Hey, that's no slight to the 67 NBA champs, the Philadelphia Warriors. I'm not, no slight to them. Coming over from the Syracuse Nationals. But I don't think it's that bad. What I do notice when Embiid's on the floor, and rightfully so, you want to get him the ball. You want him to score. There's a stop and go to his game. And when he is really on and he's dazzling, man, he is dazzling. It's not a lot of better things to watch in the NBA than Joel Embiid when he is on his game, when he's showing his low post moves, when he's showing how graceful he can be under the basket, when he's getting fouled occasionally and going to the line. It's not the majority of his game, but when it's occasionally part of his game, not the vast majority of his game. Oh, it's beautiful. And then he's hitting threes for you, turnaround jumpers on the baseline. That's beautiful. That's beauty. When Maxi's on his game, it's a thing of beauty. His runners going hard to the hoop, going up strong, trying to get the N1, hitting threes for you, getting steals for you, distributing, getting assists for you. That's a beautiful thing to watch. We haven't seen a lot of it. We have not seen a lot of it this year. We've seen more struggles than anything else. Ray Fitzgerald, what's up, Ray? Rivers can't figure out his rotation yet. Every game, it's different. Guys on the bench, some play 1 minute, and the next night they play 15 minutes. He can't figure out his bench. No, he can't. I did think one thing was good from last night's game. I will say this. And I'll go back to his name again. But he barely played. Well, he got 8 minutes and 3. See, that's where the box score actually, numbers never lie, but they deceive. The box score actually makes it look better, and it still looked good on the court. Montrezl Harrell only played 3 minutes last night. And in those 3 minutes, the Sixers had a nice little run. He was +7 in those 3 minutes. And he had 8 points in those 3 minutes. That's pretty good. That's great, actually. Good for him. But he's obviously competing with Paul Reed for those backup center minutes. And last night, you didn't really see a lot from old Paulie during the game there. But Montrezl Harrell came in and tried to get this team back in the game and really did it. And like I said, when he was walking off the court and he did that, flailed his lips, whatever, he was like, I know we don't have a chance, but I'm going to just do this anyway just to help me out. And it ended up helping the Sixers. Which was nice. What else do we have? Anything else? That's it. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get in the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. After their 5-2 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, Philadelphia Flyers 7-4-2 on the season. They're back at it tomorrow afternoon in South Philadelphia. The return of Claude Giroux. Last week, the Flyers were able to handle their business by beating their former capitaine in Ottawa. Now, Claude Giroux comes back to South Philadelphia to take on his former team. First time in South Philly as a visitor. 1:00. That'll be weird. I always say it doesn't really get weird for me anymore because players change teams all the time. But a guy like Claude Giroux has played his whole career here in Philly and been a captain here in Philly. Yeah, it's going to be weird. It's like we watched him grow up. Anyway, so that's where the Flyers are back at it. Sixers back at it, as I mentioned earlier. They're taking on the Atlanta Hawks again, and that's tomorrow in South Philly. So it'll be a doubleheader at the Wells Fargo Center. 7:30 start time, 7:30 tip-off for that game. Coaches addressed the media. Nick Sirianni addressed the media. Jalen Hurts addressed the media. One thing that stuck out for me yesterday, I want to make sure I got this in from the press conference. Jalen Hurts, when he was talking about this year, he was asked about whether or not this year is sneaking up on him, whether or not it's a surprise or anything like that. Before the year, the quote was rat poison. Don't get caught up in it because it's rat poison. But Jalen Hurts, when he was asked more or less if he was surprised by the team's success, 8-0, not really. And he talked about the accountability of this team. He talked about the talent on this team. Talked about the leadership on this team. It's not that surprising when you put all that together. That was basically his attitude. If I had to paraphrase what he said yesterday and get the message across, is that this locker room doesn't accept anything but perfection. And when perfection isn't reached, you're held accountable. And it goes back to the overall theory, the overall theme of this season, I feel, is the pursuit of perfection. And I'll say it again, I don't even look at it as the record, the perfect record. I look at it as the perfect game. This season for the Philadelphia Eagles is all about the pursuit of perfection, trying to find and play that perfect game. And when they don't play that perfect game, which to their standard, they say they haven't played yet this season, that means you're just still going to be chasing it every single week. Week in, week out, you're going to be looking for that perfect game. Jalen Hurts is going to have games where And he's had games this season where he has looked great, looked like the MVP of the season in the entire NFL. And after the game, he's like, yeah, but I had that one throw I should have had back, and I should have made that throw. I wish I could have that back. And it's like, really? He is? Okay. Hey, A.J. Brown, how about you? You had 3 touchdowns in that game. I wish I had 4. Should have had 4. Well, the one you should have had was a penalty, so the play never even happened. Yeah, I still should have had it. What? That's accountability. That's great leadership. Nick Sirianni talked about it yesterday. And that's what this team's all about. And I just can't wait for Monday now. Yeah, I'll watch the Sixers. I'll watch the Flyers in the meantime. But can't wait for Monday. Be another win. Give you the official prediction Monday morning. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That's the Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. A lot of Philly sports going on this weekend, so make sure you guys enjoy. I'm Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Jim Hyder produced the program, did a wonderful job as per usual. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you on Monday. See ya.